Over the past decade, there's been a single term that's been used to define both the best and the worst in music in many opinions. And yet the fact of the matter is, most people are very unaware of just how long autotune has been around, as well as just how the program works. Though most people think quite differently, the fact of the matter is the autotune processor was actually first released back in 1997 as part of rack-mounted hardware by Antares Audio Technology, and you can find its use in songs all the way back then. However, what we now know as autotune was actually originally developed by Andy Hildebrand, who was actually an engineer for the Exxon Oil Company, and he actually created it for an alternative method to interpret seismic data. But eventually he did realize the musical possibilities that it had. In the musical sense, the original intent of autotune was something that producers and engineers could use so that they could alter or hide slightly off-pitch vocal moments, allowing them to be perfectly tuned in a manner that lots of people incorrectly term as perfect pitch. In a technical sense, what the software actually does is bend the pitch to the nearest seminote, and if you listen closely to songs from artists across every genre, you can actually hear the notes being bended during the final song. On a song that's been auto-tuned from its original intended manner, you can hear the voice leap somewhat suddenly on the track. And when it hits this different musical step, that's the easiest sign of something that's been auto-tuned, as it almost sounds like a synthesizer in some ways. As recording technology progressed, the company decided to switch from rack-mounted hardware to a software-based system so that it could then be used across a wide range of computer platforms. And in about 2002, thanks to these plugins, auto-tune went industry-wide. Now, while many people think that the overuse and almost robotic sound that we now know as autotune is a recent phenomena, the first big use of it was actually all the way back in 1998 on Cher's song Believe. Combining her sound here with other things like vocorders, it became very clear that in modern times you no longer actually needed a good singing voice to be a successful singer. Yet clearly, the trend of using autotune did take a number of years to catch on. And while there were instances here and there, it wasn't until rapper T-Pain had his 15 minutes of fame that the world really knew what we now call autotune. However, only a few years after the big hit, artists from almost every conceivable genre began to speak out quite loudly against the overuse of autotune, with many of them stating that real artists didn't need to use such technology, and other people simply calling for it to be used in far more moderation. From Jay-Z's single Death of Autotune to a rather amusing t-shirt once worn by Christina Aguilera, by around 2010 the overuse of autotune had pretty much faded completely, much to the enjoyment of a majority of music lovers. Yet at the same time, most people forget that since its inception, autotune technology has been being used by artists in live settings, and those who do use it for their live shows claim that it's an insurance policy so that the audience gets the best show possible. Many other musicians feel that this is rather disingenuous on part of the artists, and move to the idea that if you can't pull it off live, chances are you can't pull it off at all. But the fact remains that from entire songs to just fixing a note here and there, the world of music was forever changed by the introduction of the technology we simply call autotune.